This is the best and fastest leveling build for the druid by far, no questions asked. This runs through the early game content and lets you get to like level 50 in like 4 to 5 hours. It's super powerful, and as you can see, deals a ton of damage to every enemy you come across and has tons of survivability, and I'm going to show you exactly how to build this to level up your druid the fastest and make him the best he can be early game. So first I'm going to go over the skill tree, but before I do, there is a link in the description if you want to follow along with the build planner. The build planner shows you exactly which levels to put points into your skills, so if you want, click on that and save it so you have it as reference, because it shows you levels 1 through 50, every point to put and when to put it. But make sure you follow along with me first, because I'm going to show you exactly how this build works, because it's very, very good. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go to our basic skills and put our first point in Storm Strike. So Storm Strike is going to be our primary basic ability to allow us to generate Spirit. Spirit is our resource we use to cast basically everything, and out of all the classes, Storm Strike gives us an absolute ton of resources just for a couple hits. We're going to go into Enhanced Storm Strike and Fierce Storm Strike. That way we also get 25% damage reduction after using Storm Strike, and again the extra bonuses and a 50% chance to make enemies vulnerable, giving them increased damage, which is huge. Next, we're going to want to come down here to our core skills. We're going to want to take 5 out of 5 for our primary skill, Tornado. This is going to be our big damage skill that just runs through every enemy in the game. And this makes it so each time you cast a tornado, and this conjures a swirling tornado that deals a large, substantial amount of damage. Now we're going to want to go Enhanced Tornado and Primal Tornado. That way, each time we cast a tornado, you get a 20% chance to spawn an extra tornado for free damage, and enemies damaged by that tornado are slowed, and it does stack up to 40%. Now there are some passives we want to take here. Heart of the Wild, that increases our maximum spirit, so we can get up to Wild Impulses, which makes your core skills cost 9% more spirit, but deal 15% increased damage. We get extra damage this way, so it's totally worth it. And then Abundance, which means our basic skills generate 18% more spirit, and Predatory Instinct, where critical strike chance against close enemies is increased by 6%, which we will get most of the time. And then we're going to want to jump down here to defensive skills to claim Earthen Bulwark, one of our primary defensive abilities, and this is going to make it so that it grants us a barrier, and then the modifiers where it makes us unstoppable, meaning it removes all control impairing effects in case we get frozen, stunned, etc., so we don't get locked in that animation. And then it grants us Fortify as well, so we want to go into Enhanced Earthen Bulwark and Preserving. This is going to be a defensive ability we cast very often, and is going to give us a ton of survivability overall. We're then going to want to jump down to companion skills. We want to grab 1 out of 5 in wolves, and this is going to summon 2 wolf companions to do additional damage. And then we're going to want to grab Enhanced Wolf Pack and Ferocious Wolf Pack. This is going to make it so that we deal 20% increased damage to immobilize, stun, slowed, or poisoned enemies, which we meet almost all the time, and a lucky hit, so your wolves' attacks have a chance to actually give you Fortify, again increasing our survivability. Then the Nature's Reach passive deals 9% increased damage to distant enemies, and you double that bonus if they are one of those effects, which they will be. So we're going to get increased damage to distant enemies from primarily our tornadoes. Then you want to jump down to Wrath skills. So Wrath skills, we're going to want to take the Hurricane skill. This is going to form a hurricane around us that deals additional damage over 9 seconds. We want to take Enhanced Hurricane and Natural Hurricane. And again, those are going to make it so that enemies who are damaged by the hurricane are slowed, giving us increased damage to slowed enemies, and a 15% chance again to make them vulnerable, giving us increased damage to those enemies as well. And then we're going to want to take Trample as our last ability, and this is going to be kind of our get out of dodge defensive ability, so that way we become unstoppable and we charge forward, so we can charge into enemies or out of enemies, but use it as an ability to make us unstoppable, so we get rid of those control impairing effects and kind of go into or get out of enemies if we get stuck. And our passives here, we're going to take our Elemental Exposure, making our storm skills have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable, which is again great to make enemies vulnerable because we deal increased damage to them. And then Endless Tempest, so we increase the duration of Hurricane and Cataclysm by 15%, giving us more uptime for our Hurricane. Then we can come down here to our ultimate skills. And we're going to grab the following passives. Defiance, so that nature magic skills deal 12% increased damage to elites for boss fights. Circle of Life, where nature magic skills that consume spirit heal you additionally, so we get healing from our nature magic abilities. And then nature magic skills deal 10% increased damage, and then you triple this bonus if an earth skill is the next skill cast after a storm skill, or vice versa. So for instance, when we cast Earthen Bulwark for our defensive abilities, and then we cast tornadoes or vice versa, something like that, we get 30% increased damage instead of 10% because we're going back and forth between those skills, and it gives us extra damage this way, so this is a great ability to have. Additionally, we're going to want to take Defensive Posture, which increases the amount of Fortify that we gain from all of our sources. And then we're going to grab Nature's Resolve for 15% chance when struck again to fortify you. And then Unrestrained, reducing the duration of control impairing effects, which will triple again when you have Fortify over 50% of your max life. And then we're going to jump down here as our last thing and grab Perfect Storm. How this works is that storm skills that you cast grant 1 spirit and deal 15% increased damage when damaging a vulnerable, immobilized, or slowed enemy, which most of the time we always meet, and this gives us a lot of increased damage to our overall skills in general. So this is why this is our primary key passive that we're going to take here. I'll show all of these skills really quickly on the skill tree, so that way you can copy them if you want. But again, that D4 planner in the description in the comments, if you look at that, is going to have exactly what levels you should grab all of these skills at. So make sure to check that out and follow that along, and that'll be very easy to follow. Next, we're going to go over our spirit boons really quickly. So once you start leveling up, you're going to get a quest to go do some stuff for your druid quest line. And once you complete that, you're going to activate these boons that you can get. Now, don't copy these exactly. I'm going to show you which boons to take. Now, the first boon you want to take here is Warriorness. That gives you 10% reduced damage from elites, which is great for survivability. The next boon you want to take is Scythe Talons. This gives us 5% increased critical strike chance, which is big because it's going to give us a lot more critical strikes, increasing our overall damage output by a lot. Making it so that next we're going to want to grab the Energize boon. So on a lucky hit, we're going to be dealing damage that has up to a 15% chance to restore 10 spirit, giving us a decent spirit restore ability that you can get free spirit pretty consistently. There's no real great ability here, so you can choose Obsidian Slam if you want. So every 20th kill will cause your next Earth skill to overpower. But once you unlock all of these and you get your spirit bonding, where you can do an additional one, you're going to want to grab Avian Wraith here, which means you gain 30% critical strike damage, which is going to up our damage quite a bit. And those are going to be how you want to select your boons. Now I'm going to show you the primary aspects I have on this build. You don't have to have all of them, but they all help very much, and then I'll go over the gear itself. So primarily for our two-handed weapon, you want the offensive aspect of the Expectant, where attacking enemies with the basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill cast by 10% up to 30%. Because we're going to be using Storm Strike quite a bunch, this is going to let us build up those damage modifiers to help give us additional damage. Another important one is the aspect of Mending Stone. This is going to make it so the duration of Earthen Bulwark is increased by 6 seconds. In addition, killing an enemy with Earthen skills replenishes a decent amount of your active Earthen Bulwark's barrier. This is big because it gives us like a 9-second total uptime on Earthen Bulwark, which is like triple what it currently is, giving us a lot more time with barrier and a lot more defensive ability and offense as well. Another important one to have is the Shepherd's aspect, which makes it so that our core skills deal an additional 6% damage for each active companion. You always want to have your wolves activated. As long as you have them active, that means you're going to be dealing 12% additional damage with tornadoes, which is our primary damage skill, giving us a decent amount of damage extra just for having this on a piece of gear. Another good one is the aspect of Might, where basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for a certain amount of seconds. This is optional just for defense, so you don't need this whatsoever, but it's good to have. And then for our amulet, you're going to want core skill damage, deal 30 to 60% increased damage based on the amount of fortify you have. We're going to have a lot of fortify at most points in the game, so this is a great aspect to have because it gives our core skills, again, that additional damage overall, just drastically increasing our tornado damage. Another great thing to have as an aspect for this build is basic skills gain a certain amount of percentage attack speed, and this is going to make it so that our Storm Strike, which is our primary spirit generator, works very, very quickly to generate our max spirit, lets us spam tornadoes very quickly, and gives us the most damage overall for this build. That's why it's very, very important. And I'm going to throw up the stats just in case you can get them for weapons, armor, and jewelry, so you can look those over, and those are what you want to prioritize on the actual gear itself early game. But early game, it doesn't matter that much, so I wouldn't pay that big of attention to that. You do want the blue gems in your weapons, and then put skulls on your jewelry. And if you have armor slots open, make sure you go ahead and put rubies there for max life, and that'll help you quite a bit while leveling 1 to 50. Additionally, one of the better aspects to have for your druid on a ring is going to be this one, which is resource aspect of the Umbral, which is going to restore 1 to 4 of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. So as soon as you attack an enemy and crowd control them, you're going to get that additional primary resource, giving us a ton of spirit regeneration for free. Now I'm going to go over the DPS rotation very quickly. Primarily, tornadoes is going to be our main skill that we use for DPS, so we're going to be casting that and spamming it pretty quickly. We're going to jump in and cast Earthen Bulwark to give us defensive fortify and that extra barrier. We're going to cast our wolves so that way we get the fortify from that, and we get the additional damage and the damage from our aspect for having multiple wolves out. We're going to cast Hurricane if we want. That way it's going to give us damage to enemies around us for 9 seconds, and it's going to make enemies vulnerable and slow them. And then Storm Strike is our main basic attack, which is our main spirit generator. And then Trample, so that way we can run through enemies if needed, or back out of fights if we get stuck. And you can see, even though I'm just playing on veteran difficulty, this is a leveling guide for levels 1 to 50. As you can see, when we jump in here, again, we're going to throw down our wolves, our Hurricane, our Earthen Bulwark, and spam our tornadoes, and we can run through these groups of enemies pretty quickly, generate our spirit, and then cast our tornadoes to essentially wipe out elites and mobs of enemies super, super fast. Again, the actual build planner with all the leveling for the skills and everything included is below in the description and in the comments, so make sure to check that out. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a like below and subscribe to the channel if you're new, because most of you haven't subscribed, believe me, I know. And also, make sure you check this video on the left or the right for more awesome Diablo 4 content. That being said, thank you guys.